And the very interesting study that kind of established this existence of these in-groups and out-groups, if you like, or at least empirically tested their existence and how they affect sort of who we give our time or resources to, is a study by Henri Tajfel, in the 1960s, that did a very simple study, sort of experimental design with his students. He called it the minimal group paradigm. The minimal group paradigm. What that essentially means is that there can be minimal differences between groups that will still result in group preference, your own group preference. It doesn't really matter what the difference is, and it doesn't really matter how small it is. It can still result in this favoring of your in-group over an out-group, whatever separates you. So what he did was have his class of students, and I do this every year with my students when we teach this stuff. You get your class of students, you've got 20 kids in the class, and you tell them, right, I want you all to estimate how many beans are in this jar. You've got this jar of beans, and they're looking, okay, and they all guess. Then you tell the students that some of you overestimated the number of beans and some of you underestimated. Now I'm going to split you by your under and overestimations, and there are two groups. You're the underestimators, you're the overestimators. Now, in reality, I made this up, right? I didn't actually count the number of beans in the jar. I didn't actually see who were the over and underestimators. I just split the room in half randomly. But they thought that they were split based on that actual distinction, right? So they already started to form a group identity. We're the overestimators and we're the underestimators, right? And that a very minimal difference. This isn't based on race. This isn't based on gender. This isn't based on shoe size even. This is based on something completely pointless and meaningless, guessing how many beans are in a jar. Then you, in that experiment, ask them to distribute resources to each other. So you give them a piece of paper and you ask, there's a finite amount of money and you have to distribute resources to each individual in the group. But they all know what individual belongs to what group when you're asking them to do this. And 9 times out of 10, every time we've done this, when you tot up the allocation of resources, they always, 9 times out of 10 at least, allocate more resources to their in-group than their out-group. And that was one of the very first studies to prove that it doesn't matter what kind of difference there is between groups, you're always going to favor your in-group over your out-group. Now, favoritism of your in-group is not necessarily a terrible thing. Okay, it's a pro-social thing in many regards. The out-group end up suffering because they have less resources, but you're not actually attacking the out-group in any way. You're not actually, waging a war with them. So it takes a lot for this in-group preference to turn into anything sort of nefarious in regards to the out-group. But under the right set of conditions, and I call these accelerants in the book, under the right set of conditions, if things fall into line, all of a sudden this in-group preference turns into this sort of out-group derogation. And that's where we start to see the formation of prejudice, name-calling, ridiculing, the use of slurs to describe the out-group.